Sergeant Alara Van had survived 3 planetary invasions, a hull breach at sublight speed, and a diplomatic incident involving fermented Altarian fruit. None of that prepared her for the sight of 2 juvenile Kravathi trying to march in her combat boots. The boots in question, standard issue Human Defense Corps, size 7, scuffed from a dozen campaigns, sat outside her quarters on Outpost Carricks while she showered. When she emerged 15 minutes later, they were gone. In their place, 4 tiny claw marks in the metal deck plating and the distant sound of enthusiastic growling. Alara followed the noise to the training yard, towel still draped over her shoulders. There, attempting what could generously be called a patrol formation, were Cub Core and Cub Jessa. Each had managed to jam both hind legs into a single boot. They moved with the coordinated grace of drunken asteroids, lurching and stumbling across the courtyard while the adult Kravathi warriors watched in barely concealed horror. The Kravathi were apex predators, 8 feet of corded muscle, midnight black fur and retractable claws that could shred hull plating. Their society revered strength, precision, and martial excellence. Their cubs were expected to begin combat training the moment they could walk. Apparently no one had explained this to Core and Jessa. Left, right, left, Jessa chirped, her translator unit struggling with her high-pitched vocalizations. The boot on her legs was so oversized that her claws barely peeked out the top. She took 3 wobbly steps, overbalanced, and toppled sideways into a weapons rack. Core fared marginally better, having discovered that hopping was more efficient than walking. He bounded past the assembled warriors, chest puffed with pride, boot flapping wildly. "Perimeter secured," he announced to no one in particular. Commander Thrak, the outpost's Kravathi liaison, materialized beside Alara. His ears were flat against his skull, a sign of profound embarrassment. "Sergeant Van, I apologize. We will discipline them immediately." "Discipline them for what?" Alara asked, crossing her arms. "Showing initiative?" Thrak's triple-jointed jaw worked silently. In Kravathi culture, cubs did not play. They trained. They observed. They learned the ancient forms passed down through generations of warriors. They certainly did not steal alien footwear and parade around like, his mind struggled for the comparison, like humans. They mock the patrol, Thrak said carefully. They dishonor the traditions. Alara watched Jessa extract herself from the weapons rack, dust herself off, and immediately resume her lurching march. The cub's face was set with determined concentration, her small fangs bared in what humans might call a smile. "Commander," Alara said slowly, "how long have your people been allies with humanity?" 3 solar cycles. And in that time, how many joint operations have succeeded because humans did something your tactical computers said was impossible? Thrak's silence was answer enough. The Human Defense Corps had earned their reputation through sheer bloody-minded stubbornness. Where other species saw impossible odds, humans saw a challenge. Where others calculated acceptable losses, humans rewrote the parameters. They didn't fight like predators. They fought like prey animals that had forgotten they were supposed to die. It drove the Kravathi strategists mad. It also won battles. Alara walked into the courtyard. Immediately, both cubs froze. Their ears swiveled toward her, and something like panic flashed across their young faces. Jessa tried to hide behind a training dummy. Core attempted to kick off the boot, failed, and fell over. "At ease, soldiers," Alara said, crouching to their level. The cubs exchanged glances. Slowly, Jessa emerged from behind the dummy, dragging the boot. Core managed to roll himself upright. "We were conducting reconnaissance," Core said, his translator rendering his youthful voice with absurd gravitas of boot functionality. "Tactical assessment," Jessa added quickly. "Very tactical." Alara managed not to smile, barely. "I see. And what's your analysis?" The cubs looked at each other again. Some wordless communication passed between them. Jessa spoke first. "Heavy, protective, designed for bipedal locomotion." She paused. "We have 4 legs. Poor fit for Kravathi anatomy," Core agreed seriously. "But," he hesitated, glancing at the adult warriors watching from the shadows. "But they make a good sound. When you walk, boom, 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 like you're bigger than you are." There it was. The insight that every human soldier learned and every Kravathi warrior's honor code prevented them from acknowledging. Sometimes, the appearance of strength mattered as much as strength itself. Sometimes the sound of confident footsteps in the dark was worth more than silent perfection. Alara retrieved her boots, noting the small scratches where claws had scraped the leather. "You know what? You two just volunteered for a special assignment." The cub's ears perked up. Behind them, Thrak made a strangled sound. "Tomorrow, 0600 hours, you're joining me for patrol. We're going to teach you something humans call improvisation." She stood, boots in hand. "But first, we're getting you properly fitted. Can't have soldiers tripping over their own feet." "Sergeant Venn," Thrak interjected, his voice tight. "Surely you cannot be serious. They are cubs. This is not—" "How old were you when you started training, Commander?" 4 lunar months. And these two? 6 months. But, so they're overdue." Alara tucked her boots under her arm. "The galaxy's a dangerous place. Better they learn to adapt now while the stakes are low." She looked at Kor and Jessa, who were vibrating with excitement. "Besides, I've seen adult warriors with worse tactical instincts." That evening, Alara requisitioned 2 pairs of modified boots from the fabrication bay, scaled down, reinforced, designed for quadrupedal movement but maintaining that distinctive human boom 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 that had intimidated predators across 100 worlds. The next morning, Kor and Jessa stood at attention in the courtyard, their new boots gleaming in the artificial dawn. They marched with Alara along the perimeter, their small frames casting long shadows, the sound of 6 pairs of boots echoing off the metal walls. The adult Cravathi watched from the training yard. Some shook their heads at this breach of tradition. Others, the younger warriors, the ones who'd fought beside humans in the Altarian campaign, watched with something that might have been approval. Commander Thrak stood apart from both groups, his expression unreadable. As the patrol rounded the corner and disappeared from view, he heard Jessa's voice carrying back across the courtyard. "Perimeter secured, Sergeant Venn." And Alara's response, "Outstanding, soldier. Let's check the east gate." Thrak's ears twitched. Then very quietly he began to purr, the Cravathi equivalent of laughter. Perhaps he thought there was wisdom in boots after all.